Alright, so in this video we're doing SOLIDWORKS 2017 Chapter 2 Tutorial 4. So you can see right here, this is what we're going to get started with and get into. We're going to draw this figure 2-68. You can see the dimensions are given here for us. So essentially the quick and easy steps for drawing this is we're going to start a sketch, draw that figure, and then extrude the sketch. So you can see we're going to use some circle commands and dimensioning and chamfer, and that's pretty much it in there. We're also going to use the mirror command if you want to, because that is symmetrical from left to right, and you can see that from the dimensions. So I'm going to walk you through. We're going to follow the steps. You can see those there, and there's kind of the overall, what we're shooting for there, and then it walks you through in the textbook, and I'm going to walk you through in here as well. So I've got SOLIDWORKS 2017 open. I'm going to go ahead and choose to make a new part, and I need to figure out what my dimensions, what kind of part that I have. So I'm going to read through and find that, and you can see from the instructions what type of part I need to choose. So I'm just going to hit new and OK. So the units that we're going to use in this part, it tells us the units are millimeter gram seconds. So since I didn't set that up, if you look over in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you can change that. Mine was currently set to inch pound seconds. I can click on there and change it right now to millimeters gram seconds. So now in your bottom right hand corner over in this area, you should be able to see millimeter gram seconds. So you can walk through. It talks you about changing up your grid settings. You can do that in the textbook. So the next step that we're going to do is draw the outer line of our sketch. And remember, these dimensions and things that I'm using are coming from your textbook. So we want to first go to our front plane. Why? Because it tells us that's where we're supposed to draw in our book, but that's what we're going to do is come to our front plane. If I click on that over in my command manager, then I can choose to create a sketch on that front plane. So that's what I'm going to do. And the first thing I'm going to work on is just creating that outer loop. I'm not going to worry about the holes on the inside, the chamfers, or the little cutout on the interior of the part. I'm just going to work on that outer loop. So we're going to start in the lower left-hand corner of that loop. I'm going to start with the line command, and I need to make that line sit somewhere in space so I can't move it around. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose to attach that line to the origin of my XY axis. So if I hover my mouse over top, you'll see it changes color. So I'm going to click there for my first one, and I'm just going to move my mouse around. So if I move my mouse straight and to the right, you'll see that I get that little yellow box that shows up there, and it's also going to give me an approximate length. So if I get my mouse close, doesn't have to be exactly 10, but close. Okay, so I'm going to click there. Then I'm going to go up for 10 units, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect, just close. The right 10 down. Now if you'll notice, as I bring my mouse down, see those little blue dotted lines for inference? Okay, that tells me that I'm in the same plane as that original line, which is where I need to be, so I can click. And then I'm going 30 to the right. Then from here you can use those inference lines again. 10 to the right, there's an inference line. And let's see, 10 more this way. So now I'm at the bottom right hand corner. Okay, pretty simple. I'm going to ignore those chamfers. I'm going to come up. It looks like it's a total of 50 vertical to get me to the very top of this sketch. So 50, and then over, I'm going to use my inference lines, click, and hover my mouse, see how it changes colors and it gets bold. All right, and then escape to get out of there. So I've got my basic shape there. I pushed F on my keyboard to zoom in full screen so you can see it. So we just started down here and moved our way around. Okay, that's pretty simple. So something that I did that was a little bit different from the book is I drew these corners up here as square corners. So now we're going to go in and make our corners match step 21. So it's a little bit different from the book, but like I said, there's multiple ways to go about creating this these parts in SOLIDWORKS. So now you're just going to learn there's 2 different ways to end up with the same product. So I'm going to use my chamfer command. You'll notice that it's up here in the top. I have to click the little arrow right here and choose Sketch Chamfer. So if I look over here on the left, you can see that I can choose what style of chamfer I have. I actually have an angle distance chamfer. My distance is 10 and my angle is 45. So you can put those numbers in, and then I just use that. That's correct. And I'm going to come over and click on the 2 lines that make up the chamfer. So you can see there's one there. There's also one over here. So I can click both of those at the same time and then either choose this green check mark over here. I can also choose this green check mark over there as well. Either one of those will work. So now what we have matches what's on step 21 of our textbook. Okay. So the next thing that it asks us to do is to come in and draw the circles. So go back and reference your sketch so you know where those circles need to go, but they go up here. So I'm going to choose the circle command, and it looks like, if you'll notice, if I get my mouse in the right spot, the centers of these circles line up with some other things that we have. The center lines up this way vertically, and it lines up that way horizontally. So you can use those lines of inference to get those lined up. So that's the center of the circle. There it is, and its diameter is 10, so its radius is about 5. And again, these don't have to be perfect, just get them close. And then I have the same thing going on over here. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so now I've got my circles on the screen. So once I have that circle on the screen, I can push the green check mark and get out of there. Now we're going to work on that inner cavity piece. And so we need to look at how things get lined up over there. So I'm just using, I invoked the line command, and I'm using those lines of inference to get everything lined up where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to start in the bottom left-hand corner, come over and grab those dimensions that I need. So let's see, it's a total of 10 vertical. There we go. It comes over about 10. Down to the midway point. So see that line of inference there to the midway point of that line? That's great. We know that this line over here is not exactly 10 tall, but we know that if we snap to the midpoint, then that's going to work in a second, because it's going to, once we add our dimensions, it will automatically change. So that's great that it knows to come over like that. Let's see. Get all of my lines placed in here, and I missed a line over here, so I'll push escape to get out of the line command and then invoke the line command again. And so now I have that middle section. Alright, so technically I have done everything that I'm supposed to do for chapter 2. It tells me in there that it doesn't have to be exact dimensions, but I'm going to go and take it a step further because we already talked about this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add my dimensions on there and force it to be exactly correct. So again, in chapter 2, all you're worried about doing is creating just a basic sketch, not really getting too much into things, but I'm going to ask you to take it a step further and go in there and try to add your dimensions in. So that's what I'm going to do next. So dimensioning in SOLIDWORKS is a little bit different than CAD. You can cheat and just grab the line. So if I wanted to just grab this line right here, I can do that. So I can use the Smart Dimension command that's up here. Smart Dimension, come down, pick the line, pull down, click, and then I can type in what I want that dimension to be, and you'll see it moved that way. So I can do the same thing right here. Now, any dimensioning rules that you learned before don't necessarily apply when we're talking about sketches, because sketches are for your eyes only. You don't have to worry about making them pretty and making that 10 line up with, this arrow line up with that arrow. We don't really have to worry about that in SOLIDWORKS, because these dimensions are not something that somebody else's eyes are going to see. So I can bring all of those down and type in my direction or my dimensions. So kind of going around, working my way up. So those were pretty easy. I just grabbed the lines and dimensioned those. This one up here is going to be a little bit different. I need this line and this line to be 15 apart. So I just dimension, click one line, click the other, and then one more click to place the dimension. Those are 15. This one here is 10. And this little guy here is 5. There you go. Let's see. This is distance of 10. This one is also 10. The total over is 30. And we also need to line this up. So this to there should be 0. So did you see what I did there? I'll show you one more time. Let me undo here to get out of that. We can force a 0 dimension in CAD. Oh, I missed a dimension there. 30. There we go. We can force a 0 dimension in CAD. So I can select this line here and that line there and go up and see right now it's at 0.34. I can force that to be 0. So clicking in there and typing 0, that's one way to slide that over. Another way that I could have done to slide that over is to say that from here to there is 20. That would have worked as well. So you can create 0 dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 0 dimension back into play here. So let me go ahead and do that. Force that to be 0. So there that one is. Okay, so we're getting closer. Let's see, the height here of that line needs to be 10. Same thing over here, 10. Let's see, these circles are diameter 10. That one and that one. Okay. The height, let's see, this height of this line right here is 40. Same thing over here. Oh, and it tells us that we've already told it what that dimension is, so we don't have to worry about that. Those chamfers are already dimensioned. And let's see, we need to place the center of this circle. So from here, the center of the circle to there is 10. That's correct. And again, from the circle up to this line is 10. Same thing over here. Notice I can grab the center of the circle or the edge. Either one is correct. That's 10. And the center of the circle to this line right there, that's 10 as well. So let's see, we got everything. Oh, this little guy over here needs to be 10 tall. So you'll notice as I went in and added those dimensions to there, things started to turn black. And that's something that we'll learn in later chapters, but we want to totally take this sketch and lock it down. So that's what we did. So technically, you didn't have to add the dimensions on there. I just did that for those that want to work ahead a little bit. It's there. I can now exit my sketch. So the top right, I can choose to exit sketch. That takes me back. Notice now I'm on the 3D tab. And if I wanted to, I could extrude this thing out and click in there, type in extrusion distance, and now I went from a 2D to a 3D solid. Kind of looks like a pumpkin face a little bit when you look at it from the front. Okay. So you didn't have to go that far, but if you wanted to play around with it, you can get that far. Essentially, all you needed to provide to make this sketch a full point sketch was something that looked like this. You could have stopped when you went that far. Okay, so the very last step here is to save the sketch. When you guys save sketches, what I would like you to do is save it with this name, but then also add your last name to the file name as well. And I would highly recommend that you save these sketches to your S drive. So we can come up here to the top and choose Save As. It tells us to name this part C02, that's chapter 02, underscore TUT04. And then you can put your name after it. And like I said, it's probably best to save that out on your S drive in a folder called DRFT 141. That way you'll have it and it won't be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and save my file, and that's it.